Hey y'all, it's Megan. If you're returning to my channel, welcome back, and if you're new, welcome aboard. So today is going to be another little story time-ish kind of video. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about times that the customer is always right is not correct. So I was thinking about sometimes that maybe the guest is not always correct. And as I was going through my notes from when I was working there, just thinking about experiences I had while I was working at Disney World, I was thinking that some of it kind of formed itself into little groups of times that guests were not right. And there was one very specific group which I thought was pretty interesting, and it is times that guests were misidentifying the animals at the Jungle Cruise. The fact that that happened multiple times is kind of interesting, especially because most of the animals we reference, we talk about them by name. So the fact that there were guests who were saying that they were a different animal while we're on a microphone telling them that it is one animal, I thought that was very interesting. So today I'm going to tell you about sometimes that the guest was not correct in their identification of their animals. So I'm going to start off with one that is a little bit understandable, because this is the one that we did not actually point blank say what the animal was. And that is when you are making your way from the Congo onto the Nile and you stop by your camp to grab a couple of things and you see that you have some unwelcome house guests. There are some gorillas who are wrecking the camp, very reminiscent of Tarzan and that scene. But that is the scene that I'm talking about. And this particular day, it was a mom, and she had her little kid with her, and he, sit on a lap. And you know how parents, my mom did this too, they point out things to little kids to try to get them, used to the world, I guess, and try to educate them in ways that they can get before they go to school or whatever. So, like my mom would take me on walks and be like, "That's a stop sign. It's red and white. S-T-O-P spells," like when I was like real little. So, this mom was doing the same thing, and she's like, "Oh, look at the animals," and she had been like, "Look at the butterflies, and butterflies are a bug, and bugs do," she had been doing that the whole time, which is fine. She wasn't super loud about it, so I'm always okay when people are not like yelling over me. That was totally cool. But this particular time, I was like, "Oh, uninvited house guests," and I kind of got quiet for a second, like there was like a pause. And that was the exact moment that she was like, "Look, honey, bears!" And I was like, "Those aren't bears." Now, I guess if you are just looking real quickly and you're thinking, like camping, tent, bears, it makes sense. And I'm not judging her or making fun of her for misidentifying the animal, especially because I didn't say what it was. Plus, she's a mom and she's a Disney, and God bless, there's very little energy left at that point, I feel quite certain. So she was still making an effort, and good for you, go mom. But it just struck me, I was like, "Oh, bears tearing up the camp, okay." It makes sense in a forest kind of way, not necessarily in a jungle kind of way, but that was one. And then we had another one that this mom was not quite as quiet and under the radar as our bear mom. She was very loud the entire time. She was doing the same thing where she was, "Oh, look at the monkeys, and do you see the elephants, and what noise does the elephant make," and doing that kind of thing, which again, no problem, except for she was very loud with it. She was one of those people that was like trying to talk over me, which I understand if you want your kid to hear and understand and like be interacting with you, but maybe don't do that on an attraction where there's someone like physically like trying to talk at you, to you, with you. She had been doing that pretty much the whole cruise, and that was, whatever, it happens, move on. But when we got to the Nile and we passed Ginger and Smiley, you gotta watch out for Ginger, she snaps. Then we went into the hippo pool, and I was like, when you've been in the jungle for as long as I have, you start to smell danger, like hippos, and like you look around and the hippos are popping up. And so I have said that they're hippos. They are very clearly hippos. They're looking at us with their big hippo teeth. And she goes, "Huh, are those like water buffalo, babe? Look at those. Look at the water buffalo." And I don't even remember if I was able to finish my hippo jokes and like that part of the spiel, because I was so distracted by the mental image of water buffalo treading water in the Nile River. Like, do they have buffalo in Africa? I mean, I guess at some part that, you know, wildebeests are kind of like a buffalo, right? Like, I guess they probably have to, but I don't know that they would be found in the Nile. I also don't think they have big hippo faces with big cute hippo teeth. I don't know, but yeah, she was like, look at the water buffalo, and that just completely just distracted me for the rest of until we got to the headhunters. So that was another one, and both of those were just parents who were interacting with their kids. So it was just a cute little thing that I thought was humorous and wanted to share. But the last one that I'm telling you about was someone who was arguing with me over what one of the animals was, which I have not gone to school for zoology. I am not going to be out there identifying the kingdoms and phylums and genus and species of every animal. I don't know all of that information, so, you know, I am not knowledgeable to that extent, but I am on the ride. I have learned my script that I have been given that has told me what these animals are. And I also have looked up some information about those animals, just in general, just for my own fun and for my own edification. So when we leave the pygmy welcoming party, which they've disappeared and we don't know where they've gone, and you turn the corner and there's a big snake in a tree, you're like, oh dear. And you talk about the python. Well, as I am talking about how the python is one of the longest snakes in the world, and they can reach, you know, lengths up to such and such feet, but you gotta be careful because they can develop quite a crush on you. After I'm saying all of this, and there's this lady, she's a middle-aged woman. This is not like a kid, this is an adult. She stands up in the back of the boat and starts yelling at me. So I have to stop the boat because people are standing up and you can't have that. So I'm like, hey, can you sit down for me? And she's like, no, you're wrong, that's an anaconda. And I'm like, no, it's a python. Like, that's the right, it's a python. And she's like, no, it's an anaconda. And I was like, okay, it's a big snake. Like, and you know, we just moved on. But afterwards, I was like, is it an anaconda? Because she seemed very, very sure. And no, it is not an anaconda. We were told to say that it's a python because it is intended to be a python, because there are multiple differences between anacondas and pythons that I looked up just to make sure that I was not giving incorrect information. And I don't know if this woman was like a herpetologist. Is that what a snake person is, herpetologist? Am I making that up? Maybe. I don't know if she like really knows her snakes and it like looked like an anaconda, but it was intended to be a python because pythons are longer in general than anacondas. Pythons also are constrictors, so they will actually give you, you know, develop quite a crush on you. That's where that joke comes from. They are constrictors, where anacondas are not. They bite and attack and drown usually. Sorry. Hi guys, this is a happy discussion. Drown their prey. And also pythons are the ones that are found in the Congo, in Africa. Like that's where they're found. Anacondas are more in South America. That's where they are generally located. So based on where I told them that we were in the world, based on, you know, we're in the Congo, and based on the types of things that I was saying that the snake was capable of doing, it is in fact a python and not an anaconda. But thank you, ma'am, for your interest in animals, and I hope that you are very passionate about animals and of all sorts. So that is it for today. That's all of the misidentifications of animals, times that guests were or maybe not so correct in what they were thinking. There are going to be, I will do a video in the future of times that guests were wrong in other ways, probably more along the lines of what you're thinking when just like the customer is not always right. So I will do that in the future sometime. There'll be another story time that comes up. If you have any stories, if you worked at Disney or anywhere else where the customer was not necessarily right, so if you need to get it off your chest, you can let me know down there. And if you have any suggestions for other Storytime videos or any other type of video that you'd like to see, make sure that you're leaving those down there as well. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, y'all.